Hello there everybody, this is Krista and welcome back to Crochet Witch Tarot. Hopefully this isn't too weird of an angle. I did not want to go and get my tripod. It's all the way in the kitchen, you know? A whole 20 steps, too many. So you're on the cat tree. But we are here to share another week of decks. If you saw my video from last week, you'll know that my decks for this week were picked out by none other than Paul himself. That video was so much fun to do. I expected him to get analytical about it just because it's just what he does, but the extent with which he really thought about every deck, it surprised me a little too. It was really, but it was fun. It was fun to see him pay attention to the imagery, and I guess I never really thought about it, or he has his one tarot deck. It's the Affirmators Tarot. And actually he's got the Affirmators Oracle now too. And he does not want to veer from that deck. Like, that's his deck. So I guess I've never thought about it, but it makes sense now that I think about it. He is very much drawn to the very colorful, adorable decks as well. So that really showed in this past week's selections, which was really a lot of fun. I feel like if he were to become a collector of sorts as well, I feel like we'd have a lot of the same decks. Anyhow, before we get into the decks, I wanted to share, I already shared in the community tab pictures of the crocheted bags that went up in my shop for this week. So I don't want to, you know, over show, I guess. I can't think of the words I'm looking for. I don't want to be redundant. So if you're interested in seeing that, it's right in the community tab with a link to my shop. So, but I thought I would show you my personal favorite from this week, and that has to be, I made a bag that's pretty much just like the one I made for my own Oak, Ash, and Thorn. This is yarn that my older sister hand-dyed. She is Color Wheel Yarns on Etsy and Instagram. This is her color Ember, and it's my absolute favorite. I am going to order so much more of this from her because it's such a good color. And I have these little chickadee patches I put on, or I had one more of them. And these maple leaf I mean, it's just, I don't know, it makes me feel warm and cozy, and I love it. So I have a very similar one for my Oak, Ash, and Thorn that I made. So, same color yarn. It was the matching patch. Only thing different is mine just has acorns, this one has leaves, but these are some of my favorite bags I think I've made. I just think the colors and the patch, I just love it. So this one is currently up in my shop if you're interested, but that I think is my favorite I made this week. But my other thing I'm really excited about, tarot bag wise, is that I learned this past week how to make crocheted bags with zippers. So I made some zipper pouches for some of my decks, and I made 2 that went up in the shop. I showed one last week. This was for my future ancestors. The only thing different is that I added some leaves, which I think is really fun. This deck has a lot of green leaves going throughout it. And this color, I picked this color just because it felt really calming to me, and that's how I feel about this deck. So I'm excited about that one. But my other one I made for myself. Are you ready? I don't think you are. This is for my Boo Tarot, which I didn't think I was going to make a bag for it because I loved the box so much, or I do love the box so much, but this just felt like the right thing. Oh, let's get in focus. I mean, how stinking cute is that? It's all about the patch, right? How cute is that? But this yarn actually is also dyed by my sister. I think this was called Barbie something. Barbie something. Either that or Plastic Shoe. I can't remember now. I think it was Barbie something. And I just thought the bright colors were so much fun. And I think the thing that I love so much about this deck is that, yes, it does have a Halloween feel because of the ghosts, but it plays around with all these bright, fun colors that makes you feel like you can use it any time of year. And so I kind of wanted to play with that feel because that's something I love so much about this deck. And so we've got this very Halloween-esque ghost. It's got its little pumpkin, but on this bright pink and purple yarn. I also just love this color, and pink is my favorite color, so that's what we did. But also, I put a little charm on the zipper, and it's a little, ooh, it's a little purple witch hat. I mean, cute, right? I'm very happy with how this came out, and proud of myself for learning how to do that. I've been meaning to for a long time now, and just kept forgetting. But we did it! Hooray! Okay, now we can get into the decks. So, let's start with our oracles. The first oracle that Paul selected for this week was my prototype of the Song of the Grandmothers. And it was really cool to see how drawn he was to two of Kara's decks that I have. He really liked this and Prairie Majesty. He had a hard time choosing, honestly. But he ended up going with this one. Which, I mean, I would have been excited either way. But this one, I was really excited to just continue to really get to know and get excited for that Kickstarter to come out. Well, it already finished up. I believe, though, if you keep an eye on Kara's website, I would follow or look on Instagram, because I'm sure she'll share it there, but I think she said her website, there will be pre-orders through some other means. If you missed the Kickstarter and want to still pre-order, that will be opening up, I believe she said. So I did back this on Kickstarter to get the full version. Oh, we are in Stevie's way. Hold, please. Ooh! I thought I'd get her in the shot. Let's see. We were in her way. Sorry, Stevie. She's on high alert. Okay, now that you just saw full up my nose, let's continue. Yeah, I am really excited because I think the quality of even the prototype is amazing, so I can't even imagine how the real deal is gonna come out. But I love working with this deck. I love working with Kara's writing in particular. I just think the messages she gives in her guidebooks are just really something else. So I really enjoyed working with this oracle this week. This is one I bring out a lot, but having a dedicated week to it was a lot of fun. I also edged it in this really fun turquoise color that matches this stripe right in the middle. So I was excited to edge this deck because it's got these rainbow backs, so you can kind of do any color you want. And I feel like I don't usually have a deck that would go with this turquoise, but I love it, so I was happy to do that. So that is the Song of the Grandmothers prototype deck. The other oracle picked out was the Little Bug Oracle by Joanna Nelson, which I love this one. I really do. It just makes me smile, but also I really get such good readings from it. I was a little bit, I wouldn't say nervous, I guess maybe slightly nervous, because I get such strong readings, I guess you could say, from the Mons Tarot. I feel so bonded to that deck that I was a little nervous to bring in something that is supposed to be part of that same world. But this has not disappointed even a little bit. It brings me right to that space. well, I wouldn't even say exactly. It brings me right into that world, but you feel like you're at the level of the little bugs as they show up in the Monstero, which I think is really, really a neat perspective. So it ties into that Monstero world so magically well. It's been really exciting to work with this. I love the guidebook. It's just been so amazing. And it just pairs really well with so many decks. So, moving on to the tarot, the first deck that Paul picked was the Teeny Tiny Tarot. And I want to start with this one because I was a little bit nervous about this choice. I love this deck. It tends to be one that I use when traveling though. And I wasn't sure how it was going to really pair visually with either of these oracles. But I was very pleasantly surprised. It paired really well with Song of the Grandmothers, but with Little Bug, it was really incredible. I mean, I love the readings I get from this deck as well. So I wasn't worried message-wise, reading-wise, more just aesthetically, I guess. Because that is a big part of it for me, for sure. So this worked so beautifully with the Little Bug. Because this is a really whimsical deck. And it does bring in just really interesting color. I do really love this one. This feels like if I were to have a Pip deck, I'm not really a Pip deck person, but this is probably the closest I'll get to something like that, and I really do love it. And if you have this deck and you haven't watched Holly Audley's deep dive walkthrough of it, you definitely should, because it brings really just cool personal meaning for her into the images, because this deck doesn't have a guidebook, but she did upload that a few months ago, and it was so much fun to watch that and hear her ideas behind the cards. It was really, really cool. So, that is the Teeny Tiny Tarot. And last but not least, we had the Monstero, which, oddly enough, I had not really paired it with Little Bug before this week. And of course, again, they worked so well together. I don't really exactly know why it took me so long. I didn't want to use them together at first because I didn't want Little Bug to get pigeonholed into we bring out Little Bug when we're using Monstero. I didn't want that to happen, and then I feel like even vice versa of feeling like if I was going to read with Monstero, like, oh, well, I guess I should bring out Little Bug. I just didn't really want that to happen. I like mixing my decks around, creators around. I never want anything to be pigeonholed into a specific purpose or pairing. I don't know. I guess just why you ask? Maybe? I don't know. I think part of the fun for me is just mixing and matching like I do, and I think it's also that I want my decks to be versatile. I don't really mind necessarily if I have a deck. Oh my gosh, I'm sitting so weird. Hold on. I'm way too low now. Let's try and move this. Will you stay here? Oh, we could have done this the whole time. Alrighty. Anyway, so, I don't mind if after I really get to know a deck, if it feels like it works best for a certain situation, that's fine. But I never want something right off the bat to be just labeled any certain way. So, before this week, long story short, before this week I hadn't really used them together, and this week I did. I don't know what I'm trying to say anymore. They worked really well together, and again, let's find a card with the bugs. It was cool because it was like getting these two different perspectives. Where's the little bugs? Haha. Okay, the Hierophant. So with the tarot deck, it was like you got more of a full scope of the world, where the Oracle almost like zoomed in to these little guys, and it was a cool perspective shift almost. So I really enjoyed using these two together. I really liked having Mons Tarot out, of course. This deck is such a favorite. I love how big it is too. The travel edition is a really nice size as well though. And you can still get that version, so I do definitely recommend if you feel so inclined as to try it. I did originally have the travel size deck, and loved it. But when the opportunity presented itself to get the full size version, I just knew I would probably utilize it more, just because what? I'm explaining everything today, aren't I? I like having the full size, but the travel edition is really fun too. Stevie woke me up this morning way too early. Maybe that's what it is. I'm looking at you. Okay, let's talk about the decks for this week. We'll go in the same order. Oracle. No, we gotta do tarot first because we have to. So, the deck that you all voted on to use this week is the Green Witch Tarot, which I'm very excited about. I would have been happy, so the vote was between this and Tarot Fauna. Tarot Fauna will come out soon, have no fear. But I love this deck, so of course, either way, I would have been really excited. But I am glad, I think, that this one got chosen because Tarot Fauna came in just on Friday. And sometimes, I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but I feel like when I get a new deck, I can't usually just... I shouldn't say I can't. I can. But I tend not to usually throw it right into the rotation. I almost feel like I needed to... I have to let it sit here and, like, get used to seeing it. And, like, you're part of this family now. This deck family. Get accustomed to your surroundings, and I'll get accustomed to seeing you in mine. I'm looking over here because I have it right in this little baskety thing here. So... all of the insights you're getting into my brain today. Alarming. But I really love this deck, and I'm glad to have this out again pretty soon after I used it the first time because it feels really connected to my own personal witchcraft path. And it's such a good summery deck. I know I'll use this all year long, but the colors are undeniably really fun for the summer. And there's a lot of gardening going on, things like that. So, really cool to use right now. I'm excited about it. So, the reason I had to show that. Let's bounce around, why don't we? We're going rogue. The reason and the backs, I mean, come on. I had to show this first, is because one of the oracles I'm using this week is the Green Witch Oracle. Now this is a deck created by Tia McCoulis on Instagram. She used Canva to kind of create these cards, collage these images together, and offers the files free. So if you go to her Instagram, I will link it. I'll link her Instagram, but in her bio, you can find a download for the images. And so I got this printed on Make Playing Cards because anything Green Witch, Hedge Witch, I'm gonna want it. Again, because that just is the direction my practice is going, and so it really fits in. So, I got this printed on Make Playing Cards. I did the linen cardstock because, I mean, it's good. It's good stuff. But it was really fun because I printed all of the cards that she offered, but you could choose your own backs, so I chose these ones because I just think they're so, I love the simplicity and they're just so pretty. Anyway, should I show you the fronts? What do you think? I'm really excited to use this deck. She also has made kind of like a guide for it. It's in her like saved stories on Instagram, highlights, I think they're highlights. So I'm gonna go through and just kind of take note of those, I think, so that I can have it in one place. But I really love the look of these cards. I love the items she's chosen. I really relate to most of them. This is just going to be really fun to use, especially with the Green Witch Tarot. And this has prompted me as well to use Canva to start making an oracle for my own practice. It just never occurred to me that you can go on Canva and you could just do this. So I've been doing that the past 2 weeks or so, and it's been so much fun to just craft an oracle for myself that really, again, connects to my own personal practice. So I will keep you updated on how that's going, but I really love this deck to use as well. It's really fun. Isn't it fun? It's a fun one, so I'm excited about that. Let's go to the other tarot. The other tarot we are using is the Dame Darcy Mermaid Tarot. My favorite backs ever. I feel like this one hasn't gotten its time to shine this summer, and this is a deck I really tend to bring out mostly in the summer. And I love this deck, and I'm okay keeping it around, really mostly just looking through it. Not using it necessarily so often, but I do like the readings I have when I use it. So I wanted to bring it out this week so that she could have her time in the sun as sort of a last hurrah of summer, because my brain's already headed into the fall. We're already almost there in my brain. So I'm really excited to have this out this week. It's such a favorite deck. I've had it for so long, and it's just not one I could part with. I really love this one. It's so fun. I think it's gonna pair really nicely with that Green Witch Oracle as well, and bring an interesting element, because obviously this is kind of a more watery deck. I kind of consider it to be like water earth, just because of the tones of it. But yeah, I really do love Dame Darcy's decks. This is the only one I have or have ever had, but I have to say the Witchy Cat one is tempting. I just don't have good luck with those cat tarots. I don't know. Too much cat energy in my life already, perhaps. But anyway, the second oracle we're using is Coastal Curiosities. My favorite. If you've watched my videos, you know this is just a favorite, and I think it's going to be so cool with both of these decks. I put them side by side already just to see, and visually it looks really, really cool. And this oracle never fails, so I'm not worried about, you know, is it gonna pair well reading wise? Because it always does. So I love the colors. I love how every background is a different color. I think that's so much fun. So good. So that is my last deck for this week. That is the Coastal Curiosities Oracle. Really excited to see the second edition of this one. That finished on Kickstarter maybe a month or so ago now. Very excited about it, but I think, is that it? That might be it for this week. I think that's all I have to talk about. Yeah. So, I hope you all have a wonderful beginning to your week.